Yo, what's up, beautiful people, man? So today we're talking about my color grading process and how I use LUTs to help speed up my editing process for clients, these YouTube videos, and for my spec projects. This video today is kind of continuing on the topic of using LUTs and presets and if they're actually useful in your editing process. So we've already discussed what presets are and how to use them over in Lightroom. So today we're talking about the video side of how to use LUTs, why you should use LUTs, and most effectively how to use them, or how to most effectively use them. Yeah. As someone who is a one-man band, LUTs are very helpful for me, or to me, in my editing process in general. Mainly because, one, I'm no professional colorist. There are individuals who will go into DaVinci Resolve and create all these node trees and just literally break down the every pixel to video footage and critique it and fine tune it. However, that's not me. One, I don't necessarily know how to use DaVinci Resolve, but then two, also I don't necessarily have the time to spend and dedicate to actually fine tuning and retouching and color grading. So using LUTs for me is most helpful with helping out with my turnaround for clients and then also for these YouTube videos. So let's go ahead and jump into Adobe Premiere and I'll show you all just how I do that. All right, so right here in Lightroom, I already have an example photo or example footage for you all, and I'm gonna kind of give you all my process of how I actually go about editing. So first things first, this footage here is actually from the 1D8 Smart II. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the camera, you can't actually shoot in C-Log. So for me, with all my footage, whether I'm shooting with C-Log or not, I like to go ahead and create a base layer of just the footage being as simple and bare as possible. So like if you look at this image here, you can see that there's still color and saturation and detail everywhere. So I like to make this image as flat as possible. So what I'll do is come over here and create an adjustment layer. For those of you who don't know how to do that, you can simply select this icon here that looks like a folded page in the bottom left, and it says new item. So click new item, select adjustment layer, and then just click OK. So there you have a new adjustment layer. And the main reason why I use adjustment layers is for the same reason why I use layers in Photoshop. Editing directly onto the actual video clip is somewhat too destructive. So using an adjustment layer at any point in time, if you need to go back and fine tune or manipulate any adjustment or setting, it's easier to do it on the adjustment layer rather than the actual video footage, because as you will see later on in this video, we're actually going to stack multiple layers to get the image that we want. So once I have this adjustment layer here created, the first thing that I like to do is come over here to basic correction under the Lumetri color tab and select the Phantom Rec 709 Gamma LUT. So this here is somewhat mimics what C-Log and a base Rec 709 image or video clip will look like. And this here is just allows for the image to be more of a neutral starting point, or at a more neutral starting point. So if we just turn that layer off, you can kind of see the difference in the two. So from here, now that we have this first adjustment layer already on our timeline, giving us another neutral starting foundation, what I'll do again is bring in another adjustment layer, and we'll do the same thing over again. But on this time, we'll come down to creative, and I already know what LUT I actually want is this one here. This is the SL Gold Rush LDR LUT. It's just one that's already pre-installed here in Adobe Premiere. As you can see, it's quite a few. So yeah, you can kind of scroll through and pick which one you want. But so yeah, so we'll be using this. And what I do from here, if I like the image straight out, I'll maybe bring down the intensity of it just so it's not too much for the image. But then once I have that, I'll come back down to our starting adjustment layer and kind of go back and actually fine tune the this image. So the reason why I do that is because that this layer here, or this adjustment layer here, if there's multiple clips from this actual sequence or this shoot, all of these can have the same exact image or style or creative look, whereas the first base layer that we created will be the one where we actually go back and fine tune the image to make sure that all of our highlights, shadows, white balance all looks the same. So that's kind of why I do that. And yeah, so from here, what I like to do again is come somewhere within the video footage. Like you can easily just scrub through and find kind of a hero shot. And the main reason for this hero shot is to be like your thumbnail or the main image, or kind of like the base, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Kind of the example footage for the entire video file. So here I like this shot here of the model, and we'll come through each of these tabs here and kind of fine tune the image to where I think it looks pretty good. So first, just simple corrections, just like white balance. So here again, we're on the beach. It wasn't golden hour, it was like right after, so like somewhat blue hour, but I don't want it to be too blue. Just warm it up just a little. And then our exposure, we can only do so much with this, since contrast, bring it up just a little. Highlights, you can drop them down just a little bit. And mainly right here, I'm just focusing on the image on her face, on the model's face. So just right in here, you can kind of see. So that, bring our shadows up a little, our whites, just so down, bring them down just so softly. And our blacks, we don't want to crush them, but we do want them to pop a little though. Maybe bring our whites back up just a little. Right there. And then I don't do nothing really with the creative tab, since we already did that on our first layer, or our main layer. And then I'll come down to our curves, play around with the blacks there. And bring those back up just a little. And then that's that. And then sometimes if the oranges are somewhat a little funky, I like to come in to the hue and saturation tab, and then just play around with that until I get like a good solid point. I think we're good right there. So you turn this off, you can kind of see the difference in the two. It's just a very subtle detail, just taking down the intensity of that, those oranges in the skin tones just a little. And pretty much from here, I'm liking the image already. I mean, of course, you can come down to your colors wheel and play around with the shadows. And And yeah, and that's pretty much all to it. So we come back to our timeline. So when we come back to our timeline, we can click off all of these. So this is what the image looked like just straight out of camera with the 1DX Mark II. And this here is what it looks like with our creative LUT, which was the SL Gold Rush LDR. And then here is what the image looks like with our fine-tuned adjustment. So again, remember that this process is just my process and how I like to go about editing my video footage. Again, as a full disclaimer, I am not a professional colorist. This is just what I have found that works best for me with meeting deadlines, but then also being a one-man crew. So yeah, if this video helped you out in any type of way, make sure to hit that like button. And if you aren't already, please consider subscribing to the channel to be notified for future videos, whether it's vlogs, tutorials, random rants, or who knows, the documentary. But until next time, peace. Bro, I'm so done to finally get this video done. It's like my third time just trying to shoot this. Hopefully everything went well. This sounds good. And yeah, if it did, you'll be seeing this Tuesday morning.